welcome to this week's edition of Inter-University Debate. Inter-University Debate is brought to you by Center for Constitutional Governance and Civic Space TV, and it airs every week on Thursday from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. on Civic Space TV. I'm your moderator for this debate. My name is Lake Gender Fancy. I'm an advocate, a tax consultant, and a lecturer. In this week's edition of Inter-University Debate, we are hosting Kampala University. So students of Kampala University, you're welcome to the Inter-University Debate.
Thank you very much.
We are discussing the topic, the state of multi-party politics in Uganda. And the students are going to help us unpack that topic today. Before we delve into that topic, I would like to introduce the panelists for today. Our first panelist, right on my left next to me, is Ms. Kyokusiima Goret, who is a student at Kampala University. She's pursuing bachelor's in education, and she is the current deputy speaker of the debate union. Goret, you're welcome to the Inter-University Debate.
Thank you, moderator.
Okay, next to Goret, we have a gentleman, Mr. Kironde Scott Mark. He is pursuing a bachelor in business administration. He is also MP-elect, School of Business, and the Speaker of Debate Club. You're welcome, Scott.
Thank you very much, madam.
Thank you. And next to Scott, we have our third panelist for today, and that is Miss Tumushabe Pauline. She is pursuing Bachelor of Arts in Education, and she is the Minister of Publicity in the Debate Union. Pauline, you're welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Welcome. So last but not least, we have a gentleman, Mr. Ekodai Abel. He is pursuing Bachelor in Computer Science and IT, and he is the Deputy President of the Debate Union. You're welcome.
Thank you very much. I'm glad to be part of this discussion.
Thank you, and we are happy to have you for the Inter-University Debate.
Thank you.
So our panelists are all members of the Debate Union. Okay, so we are going to have a fruitful discussion today in the Inter-University Debate. Now, as I stated earlier, our topic is the state of multi-party politics in Uganda. It was the year 2005 when multi-party politics was reintroduced into this country. And that was after a long period of the movement political system, which was here in this country. The government kept extending the stay of the movement political system in Uganda until the citizens in a referendum decided to move into the multi-party politics. 17 years down the road, we sit down and evaluate the multi-party politics in Uganda. What was the rationale? Are we still living up to the rationale of the multi-party politics in Uganda? We also ask ourselves, at the time multi-party politics was introduced in Uganda, did the citizens understand it? Did the citizens adopt it? So joining me is this panel that I've introduced to you, and I'm going to start right away with my first question, and I'm directing it to Goret. So Goret, my first question to you is, what do you understand by multi-party politics for someone who is out there and watching this talk show? So kindly educate us on what multi-party politics is all about.
Yeah, thank you very much for hosting me back on stage as Goret Kyokusiima. I'm here to tell everyone about multi-party system. And as you all well know that in Uganda we are having a system of multi-party system. It's a system in which all political parties come together, where all parties are allowed to participate in general elections. For example, we are having parties like NUP, NRM. They can agree to work together or work separately as parties in Uganda.
Okay, thank you, Goret. I'm very sure I'll get back to you later on the part of they can agree to work together. We'll start from there when I get back to you. Let me welcome Scott into the discussion. So Scott, we have listened to Goret give us an introduction on what she understands by multi-party politics. So I would like you, as I always do, to take our audience and the panelists back in history. Where have we come from in multi-party politics in Uganda up to 2022? What is its historical background?
Thank you very much. My name is Kironde Scott Mark, Marvin Xavier. The first, I didn't mention the other three, but let us go with the first three. So, yeah, the history of multi-party system in Uganda is a little bit complicated than you might see it. So, I think we should use the starting date, that is the Independence Day, that is 1962, when this beautiful country, Uganda, gained its independence from the British hands. So, I think that was a starting point for the whole country to see itself into development. So, as you know, it was the Uganda People's Congress that led to independence of the country. But, you know, as we are still young, we are still a little bit young into politics. So, when Uganda got independence, I think the first 2 years, when His Excellency, the King of Uganda, Mutesa Edward, took over power as the president of the Republic of Uganda, he didn't last long into power. He was ousted, like was exiled from power by his then the Prime Minister, Dr. Milton Obote. So when now you come closer now, that is around 1963-64, Dr. Milton Obote, after taking on to power, he said that no more political parties into this country. So he just led away for one political party, that was his party, the UPC, due to the fact that he was one of the founders of Uganda People's Congress. So he took over power in a country through a coup, exiling the former president into England by that time. So when you critically try to look at now the other parties went into exile. So they couldn't have a word to say. So I think you do recall that was still the time even kingdoms and chiefdoms were abolished. I think as a leader, he wanted to consolidate himself onto power, in the fact that he might have feared the strength of these other political parties, seeing that one political party, that was the Kabaka, was no longer into power. Now it was the UPC. So in mind, he might have thought that these other political parties too might join hands and kick him off power. Just that the thing he still had the parliament with him. So he took the country for some time until again another military coup happened. That was Idi Amin Dada. So I think from 1962 to present day, if you carefully look at the leadership of Uganda, no president has left office in peace. All the leaders of this beautiful country have been exiled up to 1985. So we don't know after these years of rule, how will this leader leave power? Will it be in peace? Or we shall have to enter into a war that most of us, we don't really love to. But still in the middle there, political parties never had a say or anything because they were shut down. They didn't have a voice. Every time they tried, because if you try to look at all these leaders, we had military leaders like Idi Amin Dada, Tito Okello. Even when Obote came back into power, he didn't want the political parties to come in. Even His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, Tihabura, in 1986, in the very speech he gave after he took over power, he still loved the system. He didn't want to have other political parties onto the table. He still wanted one political party to take over, but I think with time, he saw that the people wanted something else, and then he basically agreed, and then a referendum was taken off. That was in 2005 for political parties to come in, and whereby 90% agreed and said yes. So if you try to look at the democracy and the multi-party system in Uganda since independence, it's really crooked. If it's a house to be built, the house was built and broken. Because if you go back a little bit, like 1960s and 1985, of course, those were some of the 2 years whereby the party systems tried to rise up, but still, they were a little bit weak. We don't know, is it because of the leaders of these political parties that come up don't have the strength? Is it the foundation? Is it still is it the corruption around? because we have witnessed earlier the marriage between NRM and DP, which has really shaken the people of the Republic of Uganda. So I think that is a little bit of the briefness I can give you, because it's still a little bit large if we go further.
Okay, thank you. I see Abel wants to add something to that. Yes, Abel.
Thank you. I would want to a little bit bring this in context as far as multi-party. How does multi-party come into play? We see there was an attempt in 2000, and that was failed. That failed, of course, 90%. But before I get there, I want us to go back to pre-independence. We know that Uganda was under a British colonial rule, but in then they were not directly taking leadership in this country. In that time, before 1958, we saw the kingdoms and chieftainships are taking over leadership through, like, for instance, the Buganda kingdom was very, very pertinent into assigning its leadership in central part of Uganda then. And then we also had the Bunyoro, Akitara was very, very pertinent. Then from there, we are appreciating that Ugandans then back were responsible for their leadership, but we don't have political parties at the time. And then we come in play, that is a bit 1961, when the British colonial system brings ordinance into play to prepare onto the elective positions. But these positions were specifically limited. They were not all out there for people to compete. Then we see 1959, between 1958 and 1959, we see the preparation of elections again. And these elections were the Legislative Council. So the Legislative Council is being brought at play to appreciate, but still we don't have political parties. Then where do political parties come at play? We see the 1961, 1959 actually, we see DP and UPC, that election, where the Buganda, that is under Kabaka Yeka, Buganda did not boycotted that election. When they boycotted that election, of course, in 1962, we had another election come at play. But at that moment, we saw Buganda Kingdom Lukiko was allowed to nominate its members, and those were, to be specific, 21, in case there is another correct number, some can correct me, 21 to be very specific. And then we also see DP having, I think, 23. Then we see UPC. But what was very interesting there, we see the alliance coming up. We see UPC and Kabaka Yeka. And from there, that's when we see the Prime Minister, Dr. Milton Obote, being as a Prime Minister. But it's too interesting. After the independence, as per the constitution that, of course, was drafted at that time, we could see that elections were supposed to be held periodically, 5 years. But the election was supposed to happen in 1967. But in 1966, we see Milton Obote abolishing entirely the leadership of kings in this country. And of course, at that moment, the country went into turmoil, the Kabaka went into exile. Now, that hampered the process of elections. And now seeing UPC at play, but also seeing DP that had contested the election. Actually, they contested the election, and UPM, they contested the election. Now, from that play, we see the 1969, to be very specific. Obote overthrows the government of Amin overthrows the government of Obote. Now, in all those years from 1970 to 1979, we see this country being ruled in a decree of Amin, the then President Amin. of course, militarily, then we would say. Then from 1979, we see the UPA, we see the UNLF liberating liberating themselves from the government that was posed to be to term it a military government that didn't appreciate laws. Then, at that time, from 1993, from 1980 to 1985, we see that still Uganda was under the military council. And so to be specific, then person was chairing as a chairperson of military council, that was Mwanga Paul, who was chairing. Then we see in 1993, there were elections conducted under the Kasuja chairmanship in the Electoral Commission. Then we see the preparation, President Museveni takes over leadership under the movement system. There is no any political party that is allowed at play. No political party. The DPs are not surfacing, any party is not surfacing. Then from 1999, we see a preparation now coming up. A preparation of the multi-party system to initiate it. And who brings this, who pushes a system to come at play that favors every political party to come at play at that time? We see that certain individuals coming up and trying to demand for the multi-party system to come in the country. Then, 2000, to be very, to at least bring us up to speed, 2000, a referendum is being organized. That is still under Chairman Kasuja, Electoral Commission, but it failed. Perhaps the question would be, why did it fail? And how did it fail? Were people informed? Was there civic education? Did people understand exactly what multi-party system was? That is under the leadership of President Museveni. In 2002, the percentage that made this the referendum that failed in 2000 by 90%, we see the same percentage coming up in 2002. And perhaps, and 2005 rather, yeah. 2005. The question is, what changed from 2000 to 2005? Did people understand that multi-party system was very important? Yes, I think they understood, because that we saw people like Dr. Kiza Besigye coming at play. We saw there was a lot of tension, a lot of pressure that pushed for this. So to say, I come to appreciate the history that initiates or gives birth. It is also not true that we didn't have political parties. We had political parties that, of course, we saw alliances of Kabaka then time, but the most important thing we should answer in this, there was no any legal backing back then. There was no any legal backing. That how would political parties in 1961, 1962, how would they operate? Perhaps there was no any modus operandi that could allow them to pick in case of any grievance. We didn't see any legal backing at all. As to oppose now when we see 2005, when these things are put at play and a legal framework is being built. I will end at that point, as I wanted to supplement onto your history.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. That was a good supplement to the historical background of the multi-party political system. Before I move to Pauline, I would like to ask you something about, that we talked about. So when we look at the history, at independence, political parties were there. Now, my question to you is, what did the people see then that prompted them to have multi-party politics at that time?
Of course, one, at that time, we had a UPC, we had a UPM, we had DP. But let us interest ourselves on the background of these parties. What ideologies were they subscribing to? We know that DP is one of the oldest party besides ANC of South Africa.
Yeah. In Uganda, it's
the oldest. Yeah. In Africa is the second. ANC is the first. Now, what was pertinent at that time? What did people see in the political parties, if I could?
Yes, exactly.
DP was a party that was fighting for the rights of people, especially farmers, and also the education, so to say, the culture that was not getting beyond P5, so to say. Now, because of those ideologies that the parties were coming along with, people felt it right to associate themselves with these political parties because they would push a common man's agenda. So, to be very specific, we see the interest and the alignment of people based on the challenges they were faced with and the parties that came or mushroomed at the time, what they're going to offer. To be very specific, DP was offering was a party that was standing with a person who's faced with injustice, a person who could not access anything just like any other citizen in this country. That gives us a question, so to say. If these political parties were very important and they stood by on their ideologies, what is the difference with the political parties that we have right now? What has changed?
Okay.
For the others, they were standing on the ideologies and they were fighting for people. So to say, thank you.
Okay, thank you so much for that addition and for that question, Abel. Let me then move to Pauline.
Yeah, I'd like just to supplement on the question that you just asked, that what made the people change their minds. If the very percentage that voted against multi-party system is a very percentage in 2005 voting for multi-party system, what made them change their minds? So for me, I'm going to analyze it in a perception of the people. If I was in their shoes, what would have made me change my mind at that very point of time?
Oh, okay. Abel was looking at it at independence.
Yeah.
Yeah, then you would like to look at it from 2000. The ones who voted against the multi-party system in 2000.
Yes.
And then a few years, was it about 5 years?
5 years.
Technically about 4 years and a few months.
Yeah.
Yes, so 5 years in 2005, Ugandans say, oh yeah, 90% we now want.
But
We
still
now
the,
want
the same
So
percentage.
for me,
Yes.
according to my analysis, and if I'm to view it in their perception, these were people that were used to the harsh rule of voting. Now they're getting a new president who's coming up, and this is a party, NRM, under the leadership of His Excellency Museveni, and he's bringing in new adjustments and new changes that are in favor of the people. So of course the people are looking at him and the party as their demigod, so they will definitely agree with whatever he has to say. If he says that, I don't think multi-party system is good, and they think that for him as the leader or the commander of the NRM, he's doing the right thing. He's doing things that they weren't seeing in the past, from the past leaderships. And right now he's giving them better freedom. He's giving them good, better. He's doing things in a different way that is favoring the people. So of course the people would be more in line with what he says. They'll keep on agreeing with what he says. That's why they end up voting against multi-party system, just because he was also against it. And now when it comes to 2005, these are some four years that have passed. They are now realizing that there are loopholes. For example, if I look at this in the perception of economists, let me say monopoly. If I'm to bring a term of monopoly, and for anything where there is monopoly, of course, there are so many people that are going to be underlooked, and there are so many things that are going to be underlooked. So NRM being the only party, there are so many things that are going to be underlooked, whereby people don't have any other option. They only have to be submissive and succumb to whatever they have to say. So the people get to realize that there are very many loopholes for a single party, and that's when they come out and they want to vote for multi-party system. That's my own perception.
Okay. Thank you so much, Pauline, for analyzing the 2000 and the 2005 shift. Then something else I would like to also get your opinion on is when you look at the history, there has been on and off existence of multi-party politics. You find a government comes in, removes it. Another one comes in, brings it back. Why do you think there was on and off existence of multi-party politics?
In my own perception, where there is on and off, first of all, I think they have their own personal reasons. For the one could be to maybe buy favor or get favor from the people. If they realize the people want multi-party system and this party needs the support of the people, of course they'll go in for it. They'll also advocate for it just to win the favor of the people, to win the favor of the citizens in the country. So I think that's why that some governments will come and vote in for it. But then there is also some leaders that want to be dictators. And they feel like if they agree with multi-party system, it's going to become a threat to their government. It will be a threat. So they'll end up disagreeing with it, and they want to shut it down. So there's no resistance that is going to attack them. They won't have any resistance from other parties. But then some others will want to advocate for it in order to create that thought or that element of democracy among the people, to show the people that the government is democratic enough. They're advocating for democracy just to win favor from the people. I think that's why.
Okay, thank you. Let me move back and bring Goret into the discussion. So Goret, we have moved from history. We are now in 2005. In your opinion, do you think Ugandans made the right choice to vote for multi-party politics and reintroduce it in our legal system?
Yeah, thank you very much. I'll start from where she stops from. For my case, I think the reason to why they are changing, because in years back we've seen that they were in a regime of it, because they were led by one person and he never agreed with the people and were in a harsh, they were led in a harsh way. So the reason to why I think people are voting it back is because they have been ruled by the person, His Excellency Museveni, and they have seen they're living in peace. And the reason to why they are voting for multi-party system, I think it should be this, it could be this. According to me, is that they have seen that there is a great change concerning to how they were being led in past years and how they lived in past years. So I think people are voting, they're advocating to multi-party system because they are seeing the person who is leading them has led them in a peaceful way, and they have to agree with whatever he says. Considering what took place in past years, because we're having our elders who have lived for good years on this planet. So I think the reason why they're supporting him for multi-party system and why he's also bringing it back in Uganda is that because if you're having a person, let's say you're having a person fighting you, that very person is going to be looking into your loopholes where you failed. They're going to be fighting you and be like, oh, haven't done this. She's blaming me for this and this. So I think I should be doing this and this. Because for the responsibility of opposition is to let us know where we failed. The other people are talking about what we have failed to do. So the reason to why people, why His Excellency Museveni advocated for multi-party system, I think he wants to know what he has failed to do, and he starts from there. Thank you very much.
Okay, yeah, I see Abel wants to add something. Yes, Abel.
Well, thank you. The question was a little bit, why multi-party system? What is it coming along with? Now, before I come to that, why do people, I would wish to give my analysis from 2000, a brief one, to 2005. Why do people reject 90% 2000? And why do they accept in 2005?
Still 90%.
Still 90%.
Yeah, in a span of 5 years.
In a span of 5 years. Literally, you're having a government that has been in power for a few years, 1986. And it is leading this country under movement system. Of course, there are limitations. When a country is being led under movement system, the limitations. You have, there is a lot of power that leadership wields. Now, in 2000, I want to state that that the current government perhaps had a lot of fears. And in 2000, actually, the population, according to UBOS, was 25 million people. Now, that tells you that even then, if we rate the literacy level at that time, how was it? Perhaps those are questions we should interrogate to inform us on to the decision of the 90% rejection. Now, I also want to bring up to government, because for any project, for anything to come to success, it is always government that has to come and play, and they have to be centered to it. I want to believe that at that time, 2000, government was not party to that ideology, and they didn't buy to it. So,
but the NRM government actually campaigned against multi-party politics in 2000. Yeah,
absolutely, yes, because that was, of course, was coming with fear. Then in 2005, of course, the population keeps on increasing. We see members coming up, strong leaders coming up, advocating for multi-party. I also want to say that perhaps it's not true that it's President Museveni who advocated for multi-party. It is not true. It is now the citizens that woke up and said, for us to have a legal framework of association that is protected under the law, then we should have parties. Which parties should have their presidents or their chairpersons and members and of course the management. Now in 2005, of course, having people like Dr. Kiza Besigye are coming up with a strong pressure group, FDC at that time. What else would you do? There was a lot of civic education as far as multi-party referendum was concerned. There was a lot of civic education. And of course, we all know, let's bring this to our audience to understand that it is not the government, as per se the president, that organizes a referenda. Referendums are being conducted by Electoral Commission, and these are enshrined into our constitution. So if that, we all know that even for a referendum to come, it could be citizens that can demand, as per the constitution, or certain members of government, a third of them can demand a referendum. So that becomes a plan. We see a referendum come into play in 2005. This was a bit of my sisters. I wanted to bring that. Then the importance of multi-party, so to say. I think absolutely. We saw multi-party before independence. There were parties there, though we didn't know there was no legal framework. There was no legal framework. Then we see 2005 multi-party come and there is a framework for them. Which framework, of course, when someone refers to the Constitution, that is Article 69, 71, and a bit of 74, so to say. Now, what is the importance? I would wish to say this, that we are seeing one of the key positions in government that check the entities of government are being led by the other parties, not the ruling party. You see, so to say, Kosase. Kosase is the other party. You're seeing the Public Accounts Committee is the other party. And the Quality Assurance Committee, it's other parties. The question would be, if we didn't have multi-party system in this country, would we have proper accountability being brought up at play? Would we have law, the country that is being checked under the law, that whether it has implemented to a greater extent? Did we have a country that accounts to its citizens? Compare this system right now with a system of compare that system where you could not say anything. So multi-party absolutely is one system that any country would embrace to seek development, to seek transparency, and perhaps also to build our political systems both in Africa and in Uganda. So multi-party system is very, very okay.
Okay, yeah, I see Pauline wants to add something.
Yeah, just to disagree. I can't say it entirely. It is welcomed, or some people are not regretting the multi-party system in the country. Just because there are some good achievements through multi-party system doesn't mean the bad bit of it. In my own view, I think multi-party system has also brought about competition for power, whereby different parties want to tarnish the other parties, and they want to ruin their image in front of the public. So in so doing so, other people are going to suffer. Like the saying that goes that when two elephants are fighting, it's the grass that suffers. So for one party just to ruin or to show the bad image of another party, they're going to mistreat the people. And like one time I was seeing in the news, there is a gentleman who was burnt with a jerry can. But the people that were burning him with a jerry can were wearing NRM t-shirts, which we don't know if it is true. But the bare fact that they brought out clearly NRM means that someone was behind it, and the aim of the person behind it was just to tarnish NRM party. But if we didn't have the multi-party system, that wouldn't have happened. There wouldn't be a need for someone to tarnish someone by doing something that is going to cause pain, or which is going to inflict pain on another person. So I believe, however much there are some good bits of it, but still some people are really regretting why the multi-party system had to come in place.
Okay, before I bring Abel back and it becomes a Pauline versus Abel, let me bring back Mark into a discussion. So Mark, 2022, should we regret the reintroduction of multi-party system in 2005?
Yeah, you know, there's an odd saying whereby they say, without pain and sacrifice, where would we be? For our ancestors sacrificed their own freedom for us to have peace, stability. That's why these political parties were emerged into the political system. But we have a problem. You know, when you try, let me first give you a small example that most of us might know. You know, at home, when, let me say, a family of 5 kids, when you have an elderly kid, somehow, somewhere, he will try to bully the young ones in one way and another if the parents are not there. So when you come back to 2022, we watched the elections, we saw what went on, we faced everything. None of us was young, we have been grown. So we are not regretting the multi-party system. The problem comes in here. We regret a political party that is in power. You know, try to analyze from 2016 elections. When they were about to announce the presidential results, try to look, where was Dr. Kizza Besigye at that time? He was arrested. Where were other political party heads? Were they in hiding? That shows that they were in fear of one political party. They couldn't come out clearly saying anything. And that has been the routine since then. And I think one of the speeches of the president, I once said after winning an election, he said he's going to tarnish these political parties within 5 years. I think when you try to look into the parliament, you can see the party that led to independence, that led this beautiful nation to independence. How many representatives that is have? You try to look at the army. The army even has more seats than UPC. Yet, it was the co-founder, I call it the founder of independence for Uganda. It should be at least, even though it may not have the majority, at least it have the least number. But right now it has, if I'm not mistaken, around 6 seats. And as you know, people are still running out of the party. Meaning now the party has lost direction. You know, if you're a man and your kids prefer to eat from your neighbor's house, are you still a father? Are you still a man then? That means you cannot clearly feed your kids. Meaning UPC was a strong party, but now look at it. DP, one of the second oldest. Where is it now?
It is the oldest,
The
now
oldest
in Uganda.
No, I'm saying in Africa.
Yeah, second oldest.
You know that is a big title, second oldest. But where are you now? You are under the table. You can't discuss anything useful. We are seeing important figures running out of you. Namboze. You know, there are other political heads that I might not recall properly the names, but are out of DP. DP has lost core voices. So my worry is if we go for another election, should we even call it an election? Shouldn't we just say that, and you know what, right now, one party has dominated everything. Why don't we just call it a monarchy? We don't longer call ourselves a republic. Because try to look, for more than 35 years, a party keeps on winning with a greater percentage. The political parties that are coming up, every time we enter into elections, your percentage keeps on decreasing. For example, look at DP. Since let me try to recall. Since let me just go from the 18th Parliament. Try to go and look at the percentage it has of the representatives. They keep on reducing. Not only just the MPs, even the women representatives, from 2.1 point to 1 point. Now we are going to 0 point. Meaning now this party, we shall only remember it in history that, oh yeah, what, we had a party called DP, but it's no longer going to be functional. You know, we want a party to remain in stand. Stay there. Keep the wheel. Keep driving us. But stop pretending to be a party if you cannot be a party. You cannot pretend to be a man if you cannot stand up to be a man. That is why now I'm seeing DP on and other political parties right now. So as the citizens, we have reached a time saying, are these multi-party systems still of use to us? Because sincerely, nothing is coming up. One party keeps on dominating the percentages every time. And I don't know if even those percentages, these other opposition parties are having a correct role. Every time we try to critically try to analyze, we're having problems of power. Our network is off. So, and then they tell you they are using phones. So I'm asking myself, are these percentages real?
Yeah, but you see,
are we in the dark?
Yes, and you see, Mark, I also would like to pick your opinion from there. Then I'll bring Abel back after that. But the crossovers that you've talked about from DP to NRM, FDC to NRM, yes, there are also movements between DP to FDC, but you see, these are few. We have seen, of course, Lord Mayor Arias Lukwago crossover. We have seen Betty Namboze crossover. But why are we seeing prominent and political heads of parties crossing over to NRM? Why are we seeing that trend happening?
You know, when you look at that in two perspectives, one, it will be that the political party itself has lost the core values. If it's a ship, it can no longer sail into the ocean, meaning it's sinking. And you know, they always say, if you live by the sea, it's only the captain to sink with the ship. As I think now you have seen the captain, and does no longer want to sink with his ship. He's trying to clinch onto another bigger ship to reach shores. Why are we seeing these prominent faces, figures that we grew up seeing as strong opposition leaders, leaving these parties? They have really worked a lot. Look at Betty Namboze. What has she gone through? And due to the fact that she has even lost her health to less than 50%, she's no longer that strong. She's beaten, she's arrested, she's dragged. And then when we try to go back to the head, what is the head of the party trying to do for one of its members? So as, you know, try to look at it in another way, logical way. As a human being, you do get tired and then you give up. That's why now you have seen most of these leaders crossing over. For example, the Lord Mayor went to FDC because FDC had put up a very strong competition. That was, I think, around 2000, was it 5-6? To the NRM party, whereby it went into around 37 point something percent, showing that it could challenge the NRM party. Now, why have you seen Namboze going to NUP? NUP is still a young party in politics. That is what I should say. That is my stand. But because of the strong unity and membership that has sprung from the children down here, it led to Betty Namboze to go there. Because she couldn't clinch onto a weak boat.
Okay.
Yet you're sailing into a very strong storm. That means this boat is going to be scattered into water. So she preferred to join a stronger boat. And I think you have seen the results that in Parliament now, NUP is stronger than DP.
Yeah, it is the opposition party with the most number of MPs.
with the most number.
Yeah.
Showing that these other two political parties that we have been eyeing and hoping and glimpsing on, saying that these are our last hopes, are shrinking.
Okay.
They're going down into water.
Okay. Let me let Abel add, and then we go into a short break.
Thank you very much. I want to put a disclaimer. I'm not a spokesperson of NRM. I'm not a spokesperson of any party. Entirely what I'm speaking represents my head and my opinions. And just like my sister said, to some extent, multi-party system is not okay. Yes, we regret the events that ensued based on to the example she gave, the banning of a man by people adorned on 2 yellow t-shirts. No one accepts injustice. No one accepts such kind of acts, those atrocities. No one. At some point of time, there should be a question of accountability. Was it there? But should that be associated to multi-party system, really? I don't think it should be associated to multi-party system. Because we believe if such kind of acts are taken onto, I know there are measures. People have been arrested based on those events that happened. But also if they were arrested, then it is upon government to arraign them to courts of law. And they account for what? Because it's by evidence she says that this was a video, which means she was able to view people who were in that video, and the acts they were doing were bad. Those are regrettable. So that is not enough to disqualify the multi-party system. It is not enough. Those are pockets that can be corrected by the state. Those are pockets that be corrected by us, with the electorates. Now, the other thing you asked, Scott, it was very important. Very important, the legitimacy of multi-party system. And you asked another question, why are people crossing from the other parties to NRM? You see, parties are built on ideologies. And if the other party's ideology doesn't come to realization, anyone, I want to state this just in a local example. If you're with a friend, you've set targets and goals, and it passes 5 years, you're not meeting these goals. It passes 6 years, you're not meeting these goals. And there is one person you feel has a better idea, and you're driving to one direction, and that person can make you go to that direction. It is not offense for someone to cross to the other party. The would-be thing is the other party, perhaps its ideology has influenced the other to come to this side. I also want to state that the state minister said, wow, that lady who from FDC, I don't know, she's not in RM. She's FDC but serving as a state minister. We are seeing that. That means that, let's go back to our history. 1961, the UPC and the YK party. Is it bad to have alliance? It is then we start looking at ideas and ideologies that drive the country to development. It is then we stop looking at individuals as if they are core. They can't coexist. They can't cooperate together. This is what is killing Africa. This is what is killing Uganda. That if certain person is X, he should not come closer to Y. Why is that? Do we have the question of Ubuntuism? Where is Ubuntuism gone? Where has it gone? Before political parties come, they are going to go and Uganda is going to remain behind. So certainly, I want to let Scott know that it is not offense.
Okay. Okay, Abel, we are taking a short break. So we'll take a short break and we'll be coming back with more questions and discussions on this topic. Thank you.
The Citizens Chatroom happens every Friday at 2 p.m. on Civic Space TV Online on Facebook and YouTube. We invite you to be part of this conversation. Civic Space TV, freedom always.
Welcome back from that short break. We are still with students of Kampala University and we are discussing the state of multi-party politics in Uganda. So before the break, we were just on the verge of bringing back Scott into the discussion. So Scott, you can start from where we stopped.
Thank you very much, moderator. So I want to tell my colleague, he said that The crossing is not bad. No one says no, you know. Of course, everybody is allowed to cross. But at what time are you crossing? When? What are your reasons for the crossing? And why have you crossed? Those are some of the questions the public had when they saw some headline some time back. So the crossing is okay. Of course, we have had governments having coalitions with different parties, because you know a government might say that for example, let me take you back to these French. The French election, especially the party of the ruling president, had few numbers, so it had to make a coalition with another party so that in the legislative they could have a major say. But if you try to connect the two, you know, now the other one, the president's party members were a little bit low, so it brought in another party to have a major say in the legislative, that is the assembly. Same thing with Israel. That's the same thing the prime ministers did after ousting the long-serving prime minister that all of us know. So when you bring that situation back to Uganda, it is a little bit funny. The ruling party has the majority, around 500 plus, and it's allying with a party less than 10. I wonder why. You sit down and ask yourself why. Why did he move? And okay, did he move as an individual, or he moved because of, let me say, some benefits, some other things that the public cannot see? So I don't condemn anyone for moving, because as we had said that, as you know, politics, not only politics, this is based on everything in life. It's about ideologies. Even the things that we study come in business, come in computing, come in agriculture, come in IT. It's all about ideologies. But a simple question. There have been parties that have grown slowly. Those are same ideologies that we presented before the table, that is in the beginning of the time, up to now. Those parties are still there. Why is it right now, whereby the kettle is hot, you will touch it with your hands?
So Mark, that is the question right there. Do you think it's a change of ideology? Because we are soon going to dive into the DP NRM cooperation agreement. But before we even do that, let's talk about the crossovers generally. Do you think it's a change of ideology, or there are other hidden benefits? Or are they pushed to the corner so much that someone says, you know what, I surrender. From today onwards, I am NRM.
You know, before I answer your question, most cases when we buy a lot of stuff, you might not go so deep. For example, if you buy a car, you just see, okay, the windows are nice, the wheels, the entire body is nice, even the sofas. But with time, you might find out a problem was with the car after. So, of course, you never know. We might be blinded by the issue of ideologies and everything. You know, it's always the say of the day. Okay, we accept. But we do know, we do understand there is something hidden behind. It might either be good or might be bad. It may be a gentleman's agreement or not. So that's why I'm asking myself most of the times, because we do see politics around the world. And I would love to compare my country with others in politics. Because most of the times when you look at other political coalitions, like governments colliding, joining parties with another party, it will be because of APCD, and these reasons might be generally put down. But for my country, after coalition, you try to look at the perspectives, the members in both, a little bit low, lesser. You try to look at the previous elections. How has one party been competing with another? The other one is, I don't know, should I call it double, triple, quadruple to the other one's percentage?
Yeah.
So I sit down and ask myself, there has to be a hidden agenda behind. You cannot just blind me with a cloth and just tell me, you know what, just for ruling. And not really. And that is something funny. There has to be. And it always depends on the post that you're given. Because for coalition governments, you try to look at it, it will be a major sport, a very influential, crucial sport.
Okay.
But for a specific country, yeah, there's that sport whereby that person, technically they have to call him or her Muntu wa wansi. Is he really concerned about that very post that particular individual is given? You know, that is also another concern you have to take note.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Scott. Let me bring Goreti back into the discussion. So, Goreti, political parties are now existing. There's a multi-party state. Do you think there is a fair, leveled ground for all political parties to exist in Uganda?
Thank you very much for that very question. I'll actually start from where he stopped from. He talked of people crossing from a certain party to another party. And I don't think that if you're the head of the family, you really have to be convinced in 1 minute or in one day that the other family is better than yours. Why would you change from your very family to another family? So why would a certain party or a certain leader who is heading the whole party decide to change?
What do you think made him change?
In my own perception, I think these people were dealing together before even, because you cannot be the head of the party within a blink of an eye. You're blindfolded that, you know what, you're convinced to change from your very party to another party. You cannot be the very head, everyone is following you, and you know, you're leaving the whole party, now you're joining another party. I don't think him changing, he wanted maybe to satisfy his needs, not because of civil servants.
Okay. Okay, that's fine. Let me then go into the question that I asked you earlier. So do you think there is a leveled ground for all political parties to work in a multi-party state in Uganda?
I don't think we have multi-party system in Uganda. If we had that, it would be fair. But what I'm saying is that they signed for a multi-party system. But why would be chaos during the period of elections? Because I've seen people have lost their lives because of the elections. We agree with the country that there is different parties taking place or contesting on different levels. But why would, you know, during the former elections, I remember all the network was down. So we couldn't get access to what was taking place in the country. But if it was fair that we should be having multi-party system in Uganda, or different political parties taking action in the election process, why would be there chaos? Or why would such political party, just look at NUP, the president of NUP was hiding. Why would he hide when it should be fair?
Okay. Okay, yes, Abel.
Thank you very much.
And I would also want you to address something that Goreti brought up. That do we see multi-party politics in the day-to-day running of the political institutions?
Thank you very much. Absolutely. Like I said, it is regrettable for anything that portrays injustice in the country. It is very, very regrettable. And it is not what people must stand and preach, that injustice is something to do. But I also want to believe that Uganda is bigger than any party, first and foremost. You asked a very sensitive question. Is the ground leveled? Absolutely, legally speaking. Legally speaking. The others are technical now. The others are technical.
So is the ground level technically?
That comes, of course, to which question are we addressing?
Or to which extent would it be? To
Exactly.
a larger or to a smaller?
I want to bring this, the technicality.
Yeah, you can, Abel can respond to that.
Yes, the technicality bit of it. We sing the state resources, and the government that is in power takes advantage of the state resources, the state logistics that are around. Of course, that is something that the other parties have always contested. and that makes them a little bit unfortunate. But, so to say, that also has a way, there is an address of that. If such technical, the inequality in the technicability is concerned, there is that platform that has been put at play. And that platform, I believe people will discuss about it here, and that is iPod. I don't want to debate right now iPod, but I believe that platform is created. If it's there. That is the technical bit of it. It is upon the other leaders of different political systems to join and argue their cases. Okay. And then also to answer the other bit of it, do we see multipartism in multi-politics system in the parties?
Yeah.
Absolutely, we see. We're seeing the NRM having its leadership both from the secretariat, management, up to grassroots level. They have committees, both women, youth, and elderly persons. That's how they have structured, and we think that is they appreciate it.
And then the other parties.
And then the other parties, we are seeing, of course, like every party has a sole responsibility to implement their agenda from top to bottom. The initiative that NUP is trying to do, they have leadership from Parliament, actually from the Secretariat. They have leadership at Parliament elected. They have leadership both from the LOC ones, we are seeing them. Then also the structures they have, they're trying to come up with. And you have DP. DP has also the same structures. Perhaps if they have these structures on paper, the bigger question is what has failed them to implement? At the end of the day, it is not about a party. It is about someone who subscribes to the ideology of a given party. If a party fails to get a number of people that is required, both from village level to national, it shouldn't blame that there is no multi-party system. Automatically, the ideology has not sunk into people that they should subscribe and take up roles that appreciate the democracy within the party.
Okay, Abel, the existence of the technical circumstances, like you brought it up, do you think it is a barrier to a fair game when it comes to multipartism?
I wouldn't largely say it's a barrier. Because in one way or the other, we've seen during 2016, we saw the other candidates also campaigning, just like any other candidate. Of course, that could be a hinge into their successful process of dispensing the agenda.
Okay.
As far as that is concerned. But I would wish to say that the technicalities that we are seeing that are not favoring the other parties, if as observed, there is this organization that is responsible, that will call unto these members and say, look, come we talk about this. I wouldn't want so much to preempt the topic before you introduce that theme, before you bring it, but there are also successes that have been registered with the technicalities as far as is concerned. But all in all, I want to bring this. The question would be, what is the way forward? If these technicalities are not met by the government and they're not there, what is the way forward?
I think let's discuss iPod then, since it has already been introduced. So, Abel, I think let me first bring her back into the discussion. So, Pauline, he talked about iPod. Abel brought up iPod and said, if we are seeing that the game is not fair, there are technical barriers, we have a platform. What is the strength of iPod and its ability to handle such issues?
Thank you very much again. Just to enlighten about what iPod really is, iPod is an inter-party organization for dialogue, and its major purpose is to bring the parties together so they can come into agreement about particular issues for the better of the country. So you asked and said, what? Come again? With
Yeah,
the question?
okay, since you have introduced it, you can take us through how was iPod formed, and then now my question that I asked was that what is its strength and its ability to handle matters such as the technical barriers to multi-party politics, like Abel brought up?
Yeah, iPod, first of all, it was brought up in the year of 2010 and in the month of February, and its sole purpose was to bring the different parties in the country on a round table where they can come into agreement on different issues that are relevant to the country. So iPod gets the strength from the members of the party, from the different members or from the different parties that are involved. When the different parties are involved, it's where it will get its strength and to be able to implement different ideologies that are brought up by these parties. But in case some parties are not in agreement with iPod, it loses its strength because it will be looked at as unfair, as being unfair to a particular party that is not involved. So it will end up like people look at it as a biased thing, which is not favorable to all the different parties. Okay. So I think that's where it gets its strength, from having all the parties involved and when they come into agreement. But when some parties reject it because of particular reasons, it ends up losing meaning.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me bring Scott into that discussion. So Scott, political parties have had grievances. We have just come back from Soroti elections. Then we have had issues of, electoral reforms, and then issues of, when the grounds are not leveled, issues of using state resources by the ruling government. We have had all these issues. My question is, what is what I asked her, what is the strength of iPod and its ability to handle such matters?
Okay. So, she already mentioned that it's the Interparty Organization for a Dialogue, set up in 2010 by 6 political parties. But let us just pause right there. Let's ask ourselves, why was it called for into Uganda? On what basis? And who championed the call for iPod into Uganda? So, there is when you study history, you're able to plan for the future. You learn and plan for the future. So, of course, iPod is here to create a dialogue for these political parties, to interact, solve issues without violence, but on a table. But this is a shame to the Ugandan person. You are telling us you're solving issues on a dialogue. You're an international body. You're supposed to help practically these political parties all, to be fair, and let me say for even the elections, try to be fair and square. But I wonder, this organization, I believe it's from Europe. It has, I think it has very good members of strong influence from European countries, some powerful countries.
Which organization? iPod?
iPod from Europe. So my question is, you still continue to view the harassment taken onto these political parties, but you still shake the hand of the punisher. I'm still wondering, then what is the objective behind? Are you somehow, somewhere, being influenced, or you're earning somewhere? For you just to come onto the public and to those who are seeing you say, oh no, what, we are here. We are trying to do everything we can. We are working upon everything, but behind the cameras, you just sit down and enjoy whatever you're being given. So, to me, according to me, I really ask myself, to what extent has iPod played into the fairness of these political parties into the country, whereby many political parties are remember, it was formed in 2010. Now, look at the elections that have happened from that between 2010 and right now, including the presidential, the MP election. I think we had an MP election from one area whereby we had two contestants, but both of these two people, one was, I think, a male and a female, had a very, very strong voice in the State House. So I think we watched the shame whereby each individual pulled the state resources to show the other that I'm stronger than you, you know? This, I can hit you down, whatever. And that included the army being there, you know. Now in my mind, I was asking myself,
Which election was that? Was it the one that involved Honorable Sam Kutesa's daughter?
exactly.
Yeah.
You read my mind. So I was asking myself, so who exactly is suffering? It is me. Me, the human being who pays the tax every day from the moment I wake up until I sleep. The tax that is supposed to be used to facilitate my health, my social welfare, that is building the roads, building the facility that is education whereby I'm supposed to study, it is being used by someone because he's a big person, you know, one political analyst loves to call them the mafias. So it is being used to counterattack the other. And for what? For a political seat. And now I ask myself, if that person showed you that such behavior before they sat into the chair, guess what? What if they get the power? What are they going to do? So to a large extent, I'm looking at iPod not playing its role properly. It needs to be independent. It seems it is having an influencing hand that is channeling its directives, incentives. Of course, we all know the principles that are supposed to be there: accountability, mutual respect, and others. But are all those principles being respected? Is there accountability for every election that you're seeing? You know?
Okay.
As one might succeed the other in a small by-election, one is kidnapped, one is detained into a police station, and iPod is looking and watching. And you're going, at the end of the day, tell me that was a fair election. Will you be true to yourself?
That is actually where my question came in. iPod is there, and then we have all this happening. So what is happening with iPod's ability to handle some of this issues?
That is why at the beginning I was telling you, you need to ask yourself these questions. Why did it come into Uganda in 2010? Why was it invited into Uganda? You know? Because for these beautiful organizations to come into our country, there is some little bit of trickery. Of course, it will come to solve ABCD, but in return, what is it getting? You know, this is not let me say, the Red Cross. No. It's an organization dealing with political power. And you know, with political power, a lot of resources, money, human labor, incentives are always injected in.
Okay. Let me give a chance to Abel. Then.
Thank you very much. The technicality is being handled by iPod.
Yes.
First of all, we should appreciate that iPod brings in the political heads, those that are being represented in the parliament. But let us also interest ourselves, how does iPod come into existence in Uganda, February 2010? This one is an idea that was benchmarked from Ghana. If you are alive to the history of J. Rawlings, how he ruled Ghana, a lot of injustice was there. So because of such kind of organization that was brought at play the other side, that saw the transition, that also tried to bring reconciliation within the country. Now, in 2010, let's look at the election of 2006. Was so heated, very, very much heated. Uganda was actually, to an extent, divided in the lines of tribe, in the lines of region. There was a lot of sectarianism. Now, if iPod coming at play, it was looking at these things, reconciliation. It was looking at this thing, truth-telling. It was looking at this thing, people who are responsible of causing tension in the country, in a country to be specific, in Uganda. Now, in 2010, before 2016, we see the bill being passed, being championed by then Prime Minister Mama Mbabazi. That is the Public Order Management Act of bill. That was a problem to most of the other people who presumed that was limiting them.
Yeah.
I'm trying to bring the technicalities how iPod has handled. Now, having then FDC, DP, UPC sign up.
There are about six.
Six
political parties that sign.
A sign up with iPod at that time. There was, of course, settlement and truth telling. That look, POM has come up. It is affecting us. This is not leveled. We feel that you should do like this. Of course, like any other thing, having the ruling government at play, historians tell you how Napoleon protected his leadership. Before you come to that thing, for you to agree, you must seek all odds, whether they will always sustain the government, so to say. But we should also look at the equity being played. So the question is, has iPod achieved? Yes, to some extent, iPod has tried. iPod has tried to live by its principles, so to say.
Abel, yes, right from there. So what are the achievements of iPod?
I look at iPod and all of us are aware that in 2022, I don't remember any political party writing to police seeking for them to be allowed, as it was in 2016, as it was as an excuse security to use it that they're not written to us and they disorganize your meetings with people. That, of course, that was being brought to iPod as POMA being an issue to them, not to allow them to associate.
Was that issue addressed by iPod?
Absolutely. It was all heads sat together and they addressed this issue open-heartedly. And DP, I think it was at that time, it was DP leading, chairing that meeting. It was their turn. So I think to say, I also want to appreciate, iPod has come with undernotes. It has come with its challenges. But let's ask ourselves a bigger question. Who makes iPod? Is it the president of this country? Or it's political parties headed by chairpersons or their presidents? And so, if it's them who are heading these political parties, and it is true, by the way, other political parties have issues and they've refused to join. And it's because of their issues that they've refused to join that has made iPod a little bit stagnant. Now, what are those issues that I want to bring? To quote Noop, Noop says we can't dine with a person who is imprisoning our people. But
Noop actually said iPod is being manipulated by the NRM, so they cannot join iPod.
okay, you see, you are trying to be at bay. Why not come on that table and justify? Then after justifying, perhaps then make a formal withdraw that look, we are in iPod, we've raised this, and they have not met. I challenge all the panelists here. These parties that have not joined, was there any attempt of them trying to push for what they think should stand? Was it there? It wasn't there.
It was.
It wasn't. I don't remember, no. To be very specific, I don't remember no being
FDC
party.
was there.
FDC was there, anti-boycotted, so to say. But can also understand reasons why it's boycotted?
You know, you can never in your life dine with a kill of your family.
No, but I think, Scott, for me, what is killing dialogue in this country? What is killing dialogue in Africa? It is a fact of saying, actually bringing ego in front of the nation. Like I said, if the leaders can't dialogue, then let the common man dialogue with his own person.
Okay.
That's what I can say.
Okay, Abel, I don't want this to be a cross-examination, but
Yes.
there are some questions I still need to put across to you. You started by telling us the achievements of iPod, and you stopped at Public Order Management Act, which I have so many questions for you over, but I would leave it at that.
Yes.
Whether it was iPod that challenged it, because it was challenged in court. So, apart from that, what are other achievements of iPod?
Apart from that,
2022.
we've also seen the increment of political funding. Yes, it is constitutional, passed by Parliament, but the increment these people sat in iPod. And of course, each and every party brought forward that, look, our party is underfunded. So we seek increment. So that is very pertinent. As far as the financial ability of parties is concerned, and that increment is concerned, it has played a lot. Because, so to say, NOP received, I think, 3 billion, depending on the numerical strength. Then GEMOS received. But I would wish to make ourselves to this. The idea behind iPod is the bigger thing here.
Okay.
The idea behind iPod, its formation. Uganda itself, we need healing. Uganda, we need to believe that we are beyond tribe, we are beyond religion, we are beyond even political parties at the end of the day. Because at the end of the day, one political party is going to go. For instance, I'm going to bring this out. UPM, where is UPM? But back days, wasn't UPM a very strong party? Perhaps it was. Where is my brother? He has been quoting UPC. UPC was a strong party then. He had a president. But right now, where is it? That signifies to you that the spirit of dialogue should go beyond selfishness, should go beyond looking at things and poking holes into individuals. That's what I can say.
Okay, Abel, I can see Scott's hand is up. Scott, briefly, and then we come back to Goret. So, Scott, as you come in, I would like to ask you as well this question. So, if not iPod, then which other body would bring political parties to dialogue?
Yeah, that is a very nice question. I love iPod. The aims and objectives it has and the goals are the best at hand. My worry is one. It has influencers in. Can I still trust iPod? Okay, if I trust, what about the other common person? Can they still trust iPod? But anyway, I leave that question to the viewers. So, my other concern is you asking if it's not iPod, what else? You know, let me try to look at our brothers deep down in South Africa. Let us try to look at the former president of South Africa, that is Jacob Zuma. Jacob Zuma was the president of his party. But after words and legal action being carried on, being saying he's corrupt, he's doing this ABCD, what did the party do to him? It said you can no longer be our leader. And from there, he was removed from power. So I think if these political parties we have could have that little bit of spark of strength, the moment your head is no longer the head, please put him down. No matter what. You know, the weakness in these political parties that is around is here. You know, for example, he was arguing that some of these political parties, you know, they used to write letters back in the days, and you know the police used that as an excuse, saying that you need to tell us ABCD. Yeah, that was right. The police used to love to say that as an excuse. So right now, they prefer to do it in broad daylight. They come, disorganize everything, they take your files without a notice. You know, let us go back and read the law. I don't know if these officers that we might have today, let me just say this of our generations, the one that have grown up, at least they have tried to read the law. But one thing I know, in law, before you do arrest someone, you take someone away. You need to give me a notice. Why am I being arrested? And if I'm a suspect, do I need to be in jail? Or you're supposed to maintain me in a specific region for a specific period of time, and I don't do specific activities? Let us try to look at those two activities. You have been seeing the arrest of different political leaders out of the blue, and then headlines are going to tell you, he's a terrorist, he's a killer, ABCD, without, you know, giving us evidence. And sometimes, you know, the court says that, please let him go. And just after getting out of the court doors, someone is grabbed, being put into a van. You know, these drones, you know, there was a year we got so scared of getting just near a drone because we knew that these are now state-owned vehicles whereby individuals can be kidnapped. So what I think is that these political parties should form laws that can govern them. You know, don't be scared. Stand firm on your ground. The moment you see that the person who is leading you is getting out of lane. He's no longer following the ideologies that gave birth to your political party. Please, oust him out of power. And I know they can. But the problem will come in whereby the leader will try to pass something under the table and others come down.
Okay, let me lastly, on the issue of iPod, bring Goret into the discussion. So Goret, how best can we handle grievances of different political parties and the issues that they face?
Thank you very much for bringing me back. I can say that different political parties have come to fight because they have not agreed on some of the issues. But if you set a law as a party and you say, I'm the leader of NRM, so who then is going to turn against me? If you decide as a party, then why would you disagree with yourself? Why don't you be confident? If you're a DP leader, why don't you keep in your party and you be like, yes, I agreed with my people, my supporters, let me be there for them until, even if the ruling party comes into the process of leadership, they want to take me off. Why would I agree when I had signed an agreement with my supporters? Why can't you believe in yourself and you deal with your very party other than betraying them and you agree with a certain party because you want to satisfy your needs? I think if you set a law as the head of the family, you don't have to turn against your very law you've set.
Okay. How about the grievances between parties that ideally iPod is supposed to handle? So the grievances, how best do you think political parties can dialogue and solve issues between them?
At the moment, I don't think that different political parties can sit down and deal with one thing, come together and do that very thing. But for the case of iPod, it has failed to play its role. If you look on the objectives of the iPod, it is to bring up cooperation, but there is no cooperation at all. If you're to see different political parties, I don't think there is any cooperation. Instead, there is conflicts day and night.
Okay, so that closes that discussion. Let's talk about the size of parliament briefly. So I'll start from Pauline. So we have the size of parliament. First of all, we have seen the opinion, people's opinion, that it's quite large. The size of parliament is quite large. We have issues of regional imbalance on the number of constituencies. Then we have the issues of the military being present in parliament, sending 10 members. Now, I would like us to talk about the issue of the military being in parliament. So what is your take on the army being represented in parliament?
Thank you very much. Well, the topic is quite wide and it traces back to the multi-party system. First of all, when you talk about the size of parliament, I think the multi-party system has also played a big role to lead to the big size of the parliament. Whereby if we have many parties in the country, all of them will want to be represented. And as they're being represented, it will cause the size of the parliament to increase. And in doing so, it is causing a strain on the budget and on the revenue that is collected from the people. So the people are going to suffer the consequences. That's why I would say there will be no need for the multi-party system, because it's also causing any effect on the size of the parliament, which is very big. And in being big or large, it is going to cause a strain on the budget and on the revenue, and also basically on the people in the country. Then when you talk about the army being part of the parliament, first of all, I feel like it will be going against its own self, whereby I think the army is supposed to be neutral. It's not supposed to take part in the political issues of the country. It has to be neutral, whereby if it dares to have a side, then the others will be they will suffer the consequences in case the army decides to raise up against it. But still, because we are operating in unstable situations, having the army in a parliament also has its own good benefits, whereby the people get used to the army, where they don't look at them, the army doesn't, people don't look at the army as a terror, whereby the people have been given that mindset that the army is very bad, and wherever the army exists. So like, first of all, during the elections, we realized that whenever the people saw the army around, everyone would lock their shops. People would close themselves inside the home because they realized, they thought that anytime they could be shot, dead, anything bad could ever happen. But if the army is it comes into the parliament and also gets involved in the day-to-day decisions and discussions that are taking place in the parliament, people will get used to the army. Which is not bad, but the bad part of the army being part of the parliament is the size of the number of representatives of the army. There are 10, and that is quite a lot, whereby they have to be paid, they have to be facilitated, all that, which is still going to cause a strain on the revenue of the people. It would be okay for the army to be represented, but the number of representatives, at least if they could be reduced to 3 or 6, maximally, it would be okay, but the number is quite big.
So Abel, why the army in parliament?
Thank you very much. My sister here has agreed that army should be represented, but the question is the number. To answer the question about the size of parliament, it is true the parliament is too big, about over 500 members of parliament in that August house. And the house is too small to accommodate them. But of course, it also has effects. But I do not think whether this is done out of law. It is still the law that is giving the numbers, that is producing the numbers. When you read the Electoral Commission Act that states how the constituencies come about, they have a number of 60,000. Then the woman member of parliament, a third. So the country is having 45 million people. We are each and every day. Uganda is getting bigger numbers. And all this comes in the name of representation, effective representation, and also service delivery. So there is a formation of new constituencies, new districts, new municipalities, and all that brings up bulges the number. Perhaps the administrative and the legal issue to deal with is how do we put a strain in the number of people, or each constituency that keeps on coming up. How do we put that strain? And secondly, how do we trim a number of members of parliament or members that are in parliament? How do we trim it? Should we merge the constituencies? Should we try to increase the 60,000 per constituency formed and a third in the district? So these are issues that should go back to parliament and be addressed. But as per my opinion, I would say yes, it has a trickle effect economically. We see a lot of money being spent on EMPs because of the bigger number. And then we also see that there are a lot of resources and benefits MPs get. And all these pinch the common man. You find that how do they pinch a common man? Indirectly. You find that services like poor roads, they are there because a lot of money is spent up there. You find the hospitals are not built all over. Perhaps they are there, but that go to that given sub-county, you find that perhaps they're understaffed. You find that the medicine is not sufficient enough. But then, we also looking at the army.
Okay.
Let's look at the history. How have been governments going off? Have we been having representation of army in parliament? No. Now, what is the significance of having army representation in parliament? Perhaps it gives a civilian and an army connection. There is that report. The army, there is a sense of understanding what is out there from the public. And then perhaps the mode of election should be interrogated. Should have been actually the debate on how army is being voted It should be the main question of this debate.
Okay.
How are they voted? But all that I leave it to the viewers and perhaps to Parliament, that the modus of election of the army should be looked at. Just like there you see the youth, the PWD, and the elderly persons, how they elected. It is well streamlined. So that should be checked.
Okay.
Yes.
So, however interesting this discussion is, it has to come to an end. We have run out of time and our debate today has come to an end. I'll give each panelist 1 minute each to make concluding remarks, and in your concluding remarks, please feature what in your opinion, what you project should be the future of this country. I will start right with Goret.
Thank you very much for hosting me today. I come to the viewers by saying that whoever had decided to be in a party, keep where you are, build it. No one will build your own party other than you who has decided to start up with something. Thank you very much for everything, and thank you, the moderator, for hosting us.
Thank you. Let me move to Scott.
Thank you very much, Madam Munyosha. So, I see the future of this country. You know, I love peace. I'm a man of peace. But there's an old Chinese saying whereby they used to say that if there has been a lot of peace, war comes from it. So, our dear lovely country requires a revolution. I don't know what kind of revolution that we require, but we need a broom to sweep through, to cleanse us, like the whole nation to be baptized.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, Pauline.
Thank you very much still for hosting me. And I'll conclude by saying that since in the past years we have been seeing Ugandans vote for multi-party and then again they change their minds, still we expect such to happen in the near future, because now they have experienced multi-party system and have seen the negative side effects of multi-party system, and I think in the near future they might vote against it because there are many disadvantages that are cropping up, whereby there are some people I think they will be like, if we cannot get it, let's sabotage it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you think it's time for a referendum?
I think so.
Okay, let's have Abel.
Thank you very much for hosting us as Kampala University. I have a message of 3 categories of people. I have a message that goes to government, and I have a message that goes to young people. And I also have my own alternative solution that I think. As for the government, let us open our chests. Let us open our hands to listen to the challenges that other political parties are faced with. And it should be an honest discussion. As government, if there is a challenge that is really been brought to you with evidence, you should take upon it and exactly work upon it to win the trust of people, because multipartism is being demonstrated when justice, fairness is being exhibited. Then to young people, we believe that our fight must not be based on 2, 3 things. Must not be based on religion, must not be based on tribe, must not be based on anything that depicts you as an individual. But let our fight be based on 2 ideas that make Uganda great. Let your idea stand out than your other statements that underpin the nationalism or patriotism or even Pan-Africanism. Then also as a way forward, these challenges that we are seeing, could it be a way of ignorance? Could it be a low civic education? Perhaps yes. To the non-government organizations, to the bodies that are responsible to conduct democracy in this country, let us increase civic education. Let awareness be the thing. Then the other thing is, cooperation is not bad. We can cooperate at each and every level. Just like Norbert Mao and President have made a cooperative agreement, that is okay. The thing is, the spirit of that cooperation should be looked at, but not the individuals. We've seen it happen from Kenya. We've seen it happen in Israel. We've seen it happen in France. We've seen it happen to these powerful countries. What about Uganda? Uganda is bigger than us. Uganda is bigger than political parties. Africa is one thing we should look at, but Uganda must be embraced with ideas, not personal fights. Thank you very much. Thank you for hosting me.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much to the students of Kampala University for your very eloquent discussion on this topic of the multi-party politics in Uganda. I would like to say thank you to Center for Constitutional Governance and Civic Space TV for hosting us and for having this talk show. Inter-University Debate is a platform where the students of different universities come together and discuss matters that affect our country as Uganda. It airs every Thursday from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. on Civic Space TV. From us, I would like to say thank you so much. See you again next week, same time.